Hi, how are y'all today? My name is Nikki Gaskins, and I am one of the crisis counselors for Safe Passage in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and we serve the counties of York, Lancaster, Chester, and Union. I work with people who are victims of domestic violence, child sexual assault, and other abuses. I wanted to start today with an intervention that I think is something that works well with victims of assault, domestic violence, and really children or adolescents that are going through any kind of hardship. And with where we are right now with the pandemic and COVID-19 and children being very isolated, especially adolescents feeling like they don't necessarily know where they belong, and that being a really big piece of who they are in this time in their life, I wanted to share this intervention, and I'm using my kids today as demonstrators of how this can work.
Introducing my two big kids, Layla and Raider.
And it's very simple, and the point of it is to help build identity.
Identity can come from internal influences or from external influences. Internal identity comes from within, while external identity comes from outside of oneself. This parallels what is within our control and what is outside of our control. We can control our internal feelings and thoughts about our self-view, but we cannot control the feelings or opinions of others or the world around us. The fleeting opinions of others or the quickly changing trends from outside sources cannot provide sustaining identity. Lasting value comes from inside, like having self-control and self-approval of who you are and for what makes you one of a kind and different.
If people know who they are, they're going to know what they're going to do in different situations, and they'll know that whatever they make their choices to do, they're going to be able to stand the test of time, and they're going to be able to feel good about that. And when children feel good about the decisions they make, they feel good about themselves. And so this intervention is called the Flipbook Identity Chart. And I love doing this with families, especially in a family session or with siblings in a sibling group, where the children actually complete the flipbook for each other. We could probably say that anybody knows anybody better than our siblings know us, so they know our strengths, and being able to really identify those strengths in a self-identity flipbook is a great way. So my kids right now are working on the flipbooks, and they're going to pick out things from the magazines that remind them of their sibling, about what makes them super special, and then we're going to give each of them a flipbook so that they can see, wow, this is how someone sees me, and this is what makes me so unique and therefore so special.
Okay, so you have scissors, newspaper, magazines, paper, and a stapler. And I'm going to give you some pens as well. What are some things that you guys have found that are a part of your identity that are now gone?
School.
Right. So much of who you are is tied up in your friends at school. What other things at school?
Sports.
Your sports, right? So much of what you do and who you are has to do with the activities that you've been doing. And obviously because of the quarantine, we haven't been able to be out, and you haven't been able to be in a classroom, and you haven't been able to engage in the sports field. And so what I'm going to do right now is an exercise that examines identity. What you're going to each do for each other is create a little flipbook. Step one is to ask a broad question to begin the activity. Depending on the age group or the type of participant, craft an appropriate opening question. I began by asking my kids what they were missing about their lives now that we are in a pandemic. Engage actively by using follow-up questions to connect the activity to their answers. Then give a brief explanation of the intervention so that participants know what they are getting ready to do. And so you're going to take a color piece of paper of your choice. Okay, this will be like the front, and then you're going to fill it with white paper and staple it together. And y'all are going to do this activity for each other. Okay, so you have a front, a back, and inner pages. Layla, so you're working on your brother Raider's book right now. Okay, share with me some of the things that you've cut out so far to put in the flipbook.
I cut out Oreos because he really likes Oreos.
Okay.
I cut out the word travel because he really likes to travel. I also got little letters to spell out his name.
Okay. His name's pretty unique, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
R-A-D-E-R.
Is there anything specifically that you saw or you have cut out right now that would just really signify how special and unique Raider really is? Or is it more of a combination of all of those
He
things?
makes big ideas.
That's nice. That's true. He is. He's very clever. When working with children who have suffered sexual assault or have been vicarious victims of domestic violence or other sorts of atrocities, or even just kids that I know right now that are really struggling in this pandemic, I've noticed that one of the things that happens to them is that their self-esteem and their self-worth really wane because something that was of worth and of value to them was taken away from them. So a lot of the things that they trusted and put their trust in are gone. So like we talk about with students right now that are no longer able to go to their ball fields in their high schools, kids are feeling like the things that I was basing my value in are not there anymore. But when we help kids to identify that their value is in what is unique and one of a kind that makes them special, regardless of what happens, their identity is tied to here, and that gives them the self-worth. The important thing about identifying the uniquities of someone is because those unique things are what make us so special and so one of a kind.
So how do you find identity from the inside, also known as internal validation? There is a path we can take and help others understand that leads to lasting internal identity. It begins by asking oneself what makes us unique. The things that make us unique set us apart from others. Once you understand why you are unique, you can know your one-of-a-kindness and the things that make you only you. Your differences are what set you apart. When something is one-of-a-kind and unique, it is uncommon and therefore rare. And something is rare, it has added value. Value and worth are very similar. When something is valued, it has worth. Something of value is worth a lot, actually. The more rare the diamond, for example, the more expensive its uniqueness makes it. When you understand your worth, you will believe in yourself. Believing in your self-worth produces a type of confidence called self-esteem. And self-esteem is what makes people resilient from the inside. When you are confident with yourself, you do not need approval from the outside. Feeling approved of regardless of any exterior validation creates the space to love yourself and own who you are. This final step is where you find your identity. This is who you are and what sets you apart. And when you know your identity, you will know where you belong. This helps us know how to act and what to do. You guys can keep working, but I just want to ask you a couple things about this activity. Have you really ever taken the time to think about what it is that makes you super one of a kind? When was the last time that you had the chance to really think about what things make you one of a kind?
I've done it in a while.
All right, so do you think that you've ever done it?
No.
Okay.
Probably never.
So what is this exercise like for you?
It's harder.
Is it harder than it would be if you were just doing it for yourself, or is it harder because you're doing it for your sister?
Harder because I'm doing it for somebody else.
Okay. So you feel confident about being able to identify the things that are really unique about yourself?
Yes.
Self-esteem based on receiving encouragement from others, social media validation, and or seeking or receiving attention is external identity. This type of identity can leave the person feeling empty if and when others, whom they are relying on, don't meet their emotional needs. For kids, this is the need to fit in and conform. It celebrates being like everyone else. Internal identity is self-esteem based on positive, confident thoughts and feelings that come from within. This type of identity helps the person know themselves and feel good about their decisions, regardless of others' approval. For kids, this is being set apart by what makes them unique. It celebrates being an individual. Do you guys think that one of the things that holds kids back in high school and middle school from feeling confident about themselves is because they're always trying to be like other people?
See.
Tell me more about that.
They're too focused in trying to act like everyone else and make sure that they fit those qualities that they don't even stop to think about what makes them them. They're just trying to change what makes them fit.
And why are they trying to change?
So they fit in.
So they fit in? So do you think that the sense of belonging is a really powerful struggle for a lot of kids your age?
Yeah.
So Rita, your sister just said that she feels like there are a lot of people that struggle with identity and self-esteem because they're just trying to fit in. So if the opposite of fitting in is standing out, what does it mean to people who are trying to fit in terms of
them having a good self-esteem?
The people who are trying to fit in, they are not finding their self-worth. They're finding self-worth in other people's, so that's making the other people have worth, not them. And if they use their uniqueness, then they find worth in themselves instead of other people.
So when you guys think about friends that you know that really struggle with self-worth, feel like they're not good enough, or maybe they're not pretty enough, or maybe they don't fit in, or they're not cool enough, what do you think is the issue for them?
The influence that they have,
What kind of influence?
like from social media.
So they're worried more about being the same as other people, and so they're comparing themselves? Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what does that comparing do to our self-worth?
Destroys it.
How?
We're constantly caught up in what others think of us. We're not going to take time to think about what we think of ourselves.
So, Raider, girls really struggle with being as pretty as other girls, or maybe as being as popular, or having as pretty social media. What do you think it is that boys really struggle with in their teenage years?
Being cool.
Being cool. What does being cool mean?
Athletic, good looking.
Mm-hmm. Well, why do you think that people really struggle with being able to cherish and embrace the things that make them individual?
Because it's all about environment and who you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to be around people who nurture you and will accept you for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just hang out in a friend group because they're the popular kids. Like, you have to hang out with a group of people who love you for you and support you and always are there for you.
A kid who, a boy your age, who maybe has watched domestic violence in his home. So maybe his dad beats up his mom. His dad and his mom are both in a really bad place in their life, and so maybe they don't talk to him as kindly. Maybe he worries about where his meals are going to come from. Do you think that his self-worth is struggling?
Yes.
Yeah. Why does his self-worth struggling?
Because his parents and his home life.
Okay, so the things that would normally be making him have an identity, so his identity is with his family, are broken, right? And things that he would normally think are valuable and have worth are kind of missing. So do you see how maybe using this intervention could be helpful?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think that? What do you think they could learn from this exercise?
That everybody's unique.
As you saw, step 2 is to continue to use Socratic questioning as participants continue their flipbooks for one another. Some examples of the questions I asked had to do with identity struggles, being popular, and what makes people feel like they need the validation from the outside. Finally, going forward to step 3, conclude the activity by having the participants share their flipbooks with one another, discuss the uniqueness of each participant, and how that helps them to make up their one-of-a-kind identity. Does it make you feel to hear the details of the book that Raider made for you?
It made me feel nice that he knows so much about it.
How was it hearing Layla's depiction of you in the form of an identity flipbook?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why was it good?
Because it made me happy. Because I am a lot of those things.
So you feel like she was...
Actually, I am all those things.
Right. Did you feel like she noticed you?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. First and foremost, if you are experiencing any kind of dangerous environment with child abuse, domestic violence, or sexual assault, Safe Passage is here for you. Our 24-hour hotline is 803-329-2800, and our website is www.safepassagesc.org. If you are watching this from outside of our service areas, please call 911. If you would like to know more about Nikki Gaskin's products and resources, please visit thesmallgroupidentity.blog and follow me on Instagram @thesmallgroupidentity.